Are you ready to save our kids? If children are the living messages that we send to a time that we will not see, Save Our Kids is an opportunity to support each child's individual journey. If there is a space or a place to improve the lives of our children, we know a few families and business owners who have made it their business to answer the call for help and provide a solution to those quietly discussed challenges that impact our children and eventually us all. We could not just choose one kiddo to save, so we are asking for your help to reach more. Join Keeping Your Kids Safe as we identify some of the problems and share a few solutions that have been created just for you. I'm sorry. Every time I start, excuse me, I'm over here doing these weird things, trying to get stuff, trying to get out of the thing, and when the thing
And the video stops.
I can't, and then when it stops, it's like, ay, ay, ay. It's okay.
That's funny. That's
all right.
Well, it's real life.
There we go. Thank you. Hello, hello. If you only knew, oh my gosh, the things that are happening on my side. They're interesting and entertaining, apparently. So welcome to Save Our Kids. This makes me look so crazy.
No,
anywho,
we just talked about authenticity.
I know. I am who I am. I just show up as me every day of the week, man. The representatives have been fired in my life. I no longer decide to bring them into the equation. Okay, so hi Corinthia, how are you today?
All is well. How are you?
You know what? I'm so I'm so excited to talk with you today. I'm good. Today I think is a day that I actually what do they say? The day you find your purpose is the day that everything kind of opens up for you, right?
Absolutely.
So I've always had mines here, but I think I knew I was on the right path, but it wasn't until just recently that illuminated and made everything so clear that the path is correct and then moving forward. And so now I have like a new resolve, I guess. So I'm very thankful for and grateful for that.
Yeah.
So I think it's always good to have that. And so this being part of the platform, I think that this is this is the right thing to do. I have made an impact in places where I didn't expect to make that impact. I've shared and made people aware of things that they were not aware of prior. And sometimes I have to say, I have to be able to kind of toot my own horn or say that I've done these things, even though I feel like the measurement of that type of success does not always look financial, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that when we attach ourselves to the financial outcome of a lot of things, we have a tendency to forget the reason why we're there.
Absolutely.
So I'm just very, very grateful for the fact that I do understand what my purpose and mission is, and I'm ready. I'm ready for it. I'm here for it, girl.
I'm ready to take the journey with you.
Come on, let's go, because we got work to do. So, as we get started, I just want to say, as always, I want to go ahead and thank our. Let's see. I got to pull up the right one. I want to send out a special thanks to our friends at Helpopedia. They're always the ones that are willing to help us, help the parents, the teacher, and the student, right? At the end of the day, these groups have gotten together and established, a mentor system, a way for interns to get in and have added experience, to get the support for special needs students and families, as well as a plethora of other services. So please go ahead and scan that QR code and head on over to Helpopedia and to learn more. I don't care what you say. We love our teachers, the good ones, the bad ones, and the ones that are indifferent. So no matter what you say, we love our teachers. They teach you the good stuff, the bad stuff, and what not to do when you're sitting on that fence.
Mhm.
So I was actually having a conversation with someone about this specifically. They're like the bad teachers. I was like, those bad teachers teach you something. So I don't care. Everybody's walking around saying, get rid of all the bad teachers. No, because I think to a certain degree, then we don't prepare our children to learn how to overcome those people, because those people exist in real life. In real life, we teach people how to overcome and handle those situations in school-like environments.
Absolutely.
So we love all of our teachers, even the bad ones.
Yeah, because they can be coached.
So they can be coached. But so we just wanted to make sure to do that. And if you can do me a favor, please, I'll put it at the bottom just as well as the top. Let's see if I can grab the right one. You never know. This is going to be a cluster. Anyway, if you can scan to like and subscribe to the channel to get more, we're going to start releasing our shorts, and we have more videos that are going to be listed and continue to be updated. So go ahead and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So right now we're going to go ahead and I'm going to ask for you. I don't know why this does this. I'm going to ask for you to come on up and tell people who you. Oh my gosh, there's things going on over here. Tell people who you are. What you do. I know what this problem is today. Tell them.
I am Mrs. Printed Niece Dixie. I'm the owner and founder of Education Reconsidered. And our promise to education is that our commitment to education will ensure that our impact extends in perpetuity and beyond. And we focus on school principals, leadership, and also teachers to ensure that there's this cohesive responsiveness to making sure that kids are able to learn and meet the goals and expectations that we so want them to meet so that they can continue to be their most amazing selves in the world as educated individuals.
I love that because you're preparing them for what's coming up next. And I think that that's a beautiful thing. Absolutely. So I always want to recommend and encourage people to go ahead and scan to connect to the link to you on LinkedIn. I met you in a really interesting way because when I met you, I was like, I was, I was, I wasn't, was it in your DMs? Look, I was trying not to be like and being all crazy, but I wanted to be respectful because you were in a position that I wanted to be connected to, so that we can go at this in a way that's cohesive and acceptable to your positions, right? As principals, as APs, and whatever. So let's just say former assistant principal, Miss Dixie.
Yeah.
Anyway, let me tell you something. Farmer, look, you cannot have the skill set to be a assistant principal if you don't have the skill set to be a principal. So I look at you as a principal. You may be a principal for a certain level of students, but the bottom line is that you're in leadership, and leadership takes different forms, and that can be AP, and the principal. But here we go. At the end of the day, I believe that admins actually run the school. So as quiet as it's kept, the gatekeeper are the principals, and the ones who are running the schools are the teachers and the admins. So today's conversation is going to be a little bit more around what are the do's and don'ts for school, because 50 million children are going back to school this month.
Yeah, come on, 50 million. That's a lot of people because we just I was at a school yesterday and they led their staff huddle and they were talking about the number of people in Atlanta, and there are 5.2 million people in the metro Atlanta area. And I was like, that's a lot of people. And since I'm not born and raised here, I came here primarily to found Kip Soul Academy. So to be here, I asked my husband yesterday, I was like, do you feel like it's 5.2 million people around here? Like, that's a lot of people. So if that number was large, to think about 50 million kids going back to a schoolhouse this year.
Okay. 10 years ago, it was 54. So they are losing children along the way. And 50 million children result in about 18 million families.
Wow.
Which ultimately funnel into 4 million teachers.
Yeah.
across a good number of schools. So, first of all, I feel bad. That's why I say I love a teacher. I love a teacher because doggone it, 35 children looking at me, asking me for instructions. I just want to play. So for me, if I was a teacher, man, my teaching people around me would hate me all day long because I would be in there singing and dancing and learning as we went along because that's how we learn, right? But my reason why I love me a teacher is because I only had 2 children at home. Can you imagine chasing 30?
Baby, that part.
Can you imagine trying to keep 30 in place? Of course you can, because you have had to do it.
It's definitely an art and a skill.
An art and a skill. So what are the skills? So let's talk about the parents.
Okay.
Teachers are my favorite group of people. Really?
Yes, they are.
No. The little people are my favorite groups of people. And my favorite stage is actually the toddler stage.
Okay.
The stage in which they get into everything. I'm here for it, girl. I will open up and let's go for it because it gives a playground for them to explore. Absolutely. But it also give me the opportunity to help them identify things that are more dangerous for them, things that they're not allowed to have, instead of restricting them to a point where they do not understand why it's not acceptable to pull on that wire, or why it's not acceptable to close the door with your fingers and still in the door jam, right?
Right.
You have to help them understand, but that's not through restriction. It's actually through exploration. And that's the reason why I did the things that I did with mine. So share with us your favorite parenting thing. So I want to see an example of a parenting do and a parenting don't that you have already experienced so that we can see ourselves in your story.
Okay, so a parenting do. Please know and understand, as a parent, you are sending your best children to the schoolhouse.
Are we saying that out loud? Our best children?
You are sending your best children to the schoolhouse.
Okay, our best children.
If we had better children, we will send them. But we send them the way they are, as unique and beautiful, as complex as they are, to the schoolhouse. Okay. And they come to the schoolhouse with your thoughts, with your values, with your beliefs and your expectations. So they come into this new space where all of these adults have different thoughts, different beliefs, different values, different behaviors, but yet we create this beautiful tapestry of education and what it looks like to learn. So knowing that, a parent do is to know that you are a parent and your teacher is a teacher. And those things are not the same.
Okay. Looks like today I am excited. Phil, if you are in the audience, we're about to play tug of war, friends. Let's go to the other one.
They are not the same. And here's why. Because as an admin, there have been conversations about student behavior that I had to assist and resolve, right? So there are some behaviors that it's like, okay, great. Mom, dad, grown up, this is the behavior, this is the consequence. And some parents are like, yes, team admin, team, let's hold kids accountable. Team, yes, we did it. Thank you for communicating. Yes, I'm going to have the conversation. We're going to talk about it and you can expect to do better. Great. Awesome and amazing. Then there's this conversation that happens when the parent doesn't agree. And it's like, actually, you could, if you want to change his or her behavior, you could very much do this, this, and this. And I'm like, Mom, I am unable to do this, that, and that because I am an educator. Your parenting style at home cannot show up in our practice as teachers. So if these things are the only things that will change this child's behavior, we have to come up with a different plan because I cannot, and neither can teachers, engage in that type of behavior to get the result. So do know that conflict arises with parents and staff. And there are things that are acceptable for us to work together to resolve. And then there's this bucket of things that just cannot be true with resolving behavior. So, as parents, be open to the ideal of knowing that we have red tape that we cannot cross to support your child in service of being present to continue to teach children and also to be able to have our own children in our care. So do know that teaching children how to behave and engage in a social setting is a teacher's job, which is going to look and be very different than what a parent may expect because of how their social engagements are allowed outside of the classroom. So just go into this school year knowing that the response to a child's behavior won't be the same, and it's okay. The biggest thing is to agree to disagree, but still commit to an action, or agree and commit. But those are really the only two decisions we have. We can agree and commit, or we can disagree and commit. But in service to the child, we have to come up with a solution. So be part of the solution and help us with your child this school year by knowing we have different roles.
Okay. So I'm okay. I respect the fact that we have two different roles.
Mhm.
This is what I will say. And this is how I knew the tug of war was about to start. Because as soon as you said that, I was like, Lord, have mercy. Listen,
Mhm.
teachers are parents to their own children.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you are a teacher and you're a parent to your own child, you discipline your child differently than you discipline your friends' children.
Oh,
So if
absolutely.
you look at it like that, then I understand.
Mhm.
However, I discipline everybody the same. So, so when a child shows up in my space and misbehaves, I just come down to their level and be like, look here, your mama's here. Yes. This is my house. Yes. Which means that the rules of engagement are these. If you break them again, I'll put you in a corner. So the point is that I'm okay with you not disciplining, especially if you don't understand. But I think gentle parenting can be incorporated with teachers, which means that they can take on a parenting role only because the parent is absent at the moment. So when I drop off my child to a family member or a babysitter, my expectations is that child is to be returned better than or at the same level as I dropped them off. I don't want their hair sticking up on top of their head all over the place. I don't want their clothes ripped in all kinds of strange places. And I don't want them looking like they've been rolled in chocolate and returned back to me with a dusting. I'm not interested in that, right?
Right.
All those things. But if my child is out there rolling in mud and powdering themselves with the gravel, my expectation is that you would stop that. But you're not going to potentially stop it with the same veracity you would do for your own, but you would stop it with a certain level of respect for that child and that family.
Mhm.
That's what teachers are missing. First of all, I believe to a certain degree that teachers have had a lot of their their stuff removed, the ability for them to do and to think and stuff on their own. I'm not expecting a teacher to be my child's parent, but I am expecting them to be the better adult in the room to put certain disciplinary things in check within a reasonable way, right? So me, again, if I was a teacher, child's acting out and doing crazy, I'm gonna put you in a corner. I'm gonna need you, because you're not gonna keep on distracting my classroom. I'm gonna need to sit you in a corner until you figure out what you want to do. And I'm gonna try to work really hard on not sending them to the principal's office. Because although I may like you, Mrs. Dixie, I don't want to send my student to you because I know that the next steps is something more dire. So I would try to correct it in the classroom. But then I mean, I kind of envision sometime I'm gonna tell my mom, yes, please tell her so that she can join you in the corner when you both come in here acting a fool. Because the point is that the parent's behavior is mirrored in the child's behavior when they attend school. So the teacher, for me, I want my teachers to be strong like me and be like, that is not tolerated here, period. It doesn't matter. Done. If you do it again, these are your consequences. And that's the end of that. That's disciplinary action. I don't know that I see a lot of that moving forward, moving around currently.
Yeah, that conversation around teachers and parenting is a good conversation that we engage in, which is why the art of that and with restorative practices come in is to allow a teacher to learn skill so that there isn't always this escalation in behavior. And to your point, the kid often mimics behaviors that are acceptable at home, and then they come into this space and have to learn something new. And for an 8-year-old, that's not always the easiest thing to adjust to, which building classroom culture takes time. And if a teacher is skillful enough, they understand those things and also know that as a teacher, I am teaching expectations, teaching guidelines, and for people to engage in this classroom community. And this community may sound like, look like, and feel very different than what you are accustomed to. However, by being part of this community, we are saying yes to meeting expectations that allow us all to feel safe, allow us all to have joyful learning experiences, allow us all to learn what we need to learn, while at the same time being held accountable for moments that our words are different than creating community, when our behaviors are different than creating the community that we desire. And when a teacher believes that he or she is parenting a child, then to your point, as a parent, there are things that I would say and engage with my kid that even my sister couldn't do, or the lady at the grocery store couldn't do. So when a teacher is able to disconnect from, I'm parenting someone else's children, no, you're actually teaching them. And your responsibility is to teach them how to engage in a setting that they are going to come to every day and learn that, yes, it may be okay to put your feet up on furniture at home. However, in Mrs. Barron's class, our feet rest on the floor. Correct. Or on the carpet or wherever we're sitting. And that's how we learn in this space. And then when you return to home, you can. And when parents also know and learn that a teacher's responsibility is to teach in the space that they have, then be okay with them saying, Mom, this language, your 8th grader could probably use this language at home with you or in front of you. But in this setting, the 8th grader, as colorful as language may be at home, may not use those words in play or in argue.
I get you.
And that's not a reflection of me judging your parenting. What I'm saying is that we have enough experiences that foul language in the school setting doesn't produce the results of feeling of belonging, safety, joy, of any other soft skill that we want kids to experience. So when I say they can't cuss and you cussing back at me because I'm telling you they can't cuss, I understand that this is and then I can engage with setting the same boundaries, and then you do get to choose. However, just know that the worlds are different.
I like that forever. So let me tell you something. I get it. I 100% get it. So you feed right in. Okay, what am I doing over here? You feed right into this one thing that I always say. Parent 1 is so at home, parent 2 is at school. The reason why I say school is a parent is because it's a co-parenting situation. You have to teach on your side the academics and the expectation of community outside of home. Inside the home, the parent has to teach all of the necessities of how to take care of self and how to engage with the outside world. And we're going to introduce you to your first group of engaging characters, right? Which is school. I think that adding the community as part of this becomes extremely important as well, because that's the bonus parent. And that's the reason why I always say that. And all of those collectively will equal a healthy child each time. Now, that does not always mean that they won't be a psychopath, a narcissist, a serial killer, or anything along those lines from the beginning to the end and anything in between, right? What it's saying is that you're giving them the best opportunity by providing them enough support that allows them to grow in a healthy direction in a way that makes it okay. But I see your point. So I can concede on part of it, not parenting. So I can look, I don't have a problem saying I'm wrong and I can change my position.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say that if you stay in your teaching position to only teach the expectations for a community for outside of the home, yes, I agree. But I also believe that there is a way to gentle parent someone else's child into understanding, because home, the lines have been blurred for so long, though. You see what I'm saying? So I remember when we were little, my mom was like, I'm so excited, school's starting. What are we doing, lady? We don't necessarily like it there. Why are you sending us back? Right. And she was getting peace because she was like, she felt like, okay, good. I get a breather from these little drain sucks. I mean, we just take everything, right? Children just take everything. So she just wanted a break. But over time, I think that messaging turned into, I need to offload you to the babysitter type of a thing. So there's nothing preparing the student to go into that type of environment to learn with the expectations that this is your teacher who's going to help you understand how you're going to be productive and as an adult in life, right? And I think the expectations probably need to be revisited in order to have a better understanding as to everyone's roles, because right now, I think we had a previous guest in there, like the government should come in and dictate that. I was like, no, ma'am, I do not agree with that, because the government's been trying to break up families forever. So there is no added benefit to bringing that in. But I do believe the community coming together as a whole to help that child is the answer. And that actually starts between the relationship between home and school, because those are the two areas they spend most of their time. Period. So I don't know I just want the know. So we know parents need to prepare and have expectations for what the child needs to do going into school. And the school needs to have expectations of behavior and academic outcomes that the parents are looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% so.
So how do we get there? Because that's not happening today.
No, it's definitely not happening today. One, because there's also conflict. I don't perceive conflict as a bad thing. So I'm not going to say conflict, because most people hear conflict and it automatically thinks there's some fight or argument. So I'm going to use the word contrast.
Okay.
So two things that I believe create contrast are unrealistic expectations and unnamed expectations. When you find yourself, if you're honest about your experience in contrast, it's usually rooted in somebody didn't do something that you expected them to do. And they didn't do that thing either because it was unrealistic or it was unnamed. For example, if I go into the kitchen and it was the kid's turn to load the dishwasher, and I'm going to add my cup to the dishwasher, and then I realize the pots are on the top, and all the cups and the bowls on the bottom. And then I grab all the kids. It's like, hey, y'all didn't load this right. Take all of these out and reload them. And they looking at me like, what? And I'm in this fix it parenting mode, when the truth of the matter is, I never said to them, when you load the dishwasher, my expectation is all of the pots go on the bottom and all the cups and bowls go on the top. So now we're in contrast as a parent-child relationship, because my expectation on what the dishwasher should look like was unnamed. Then also, if my kids, who are kids of an educator, my son Donovan struggled to learn how to read. I didn't have a skill to teach him how to read, but there was this expectation because you are my kid and you're the kid of an educator. You can't struggle academically at all, because then what does that say about me as a
Yeah.
parent who is fully educated and has the audacity to not only teach somebody else's child, but then to coach teachers to teach somebody else's child? So, not allowing my kid to have the grace to be a human and make mistakes, my unrealistic expectation around you can't make an academic mistake because of who your parent is. Now we got contrast. And that same thing shows up in relationships with parents and teachers and parents in schools, because parents have this learned expectation that teachers are responsible for every piece of whatever that happens in the school building. And that's not true. And then teachers have this expectation or this belief that it's all a parent's fault and a parent should do X, Y, and Z. But what ends up happening is a teacher has expectations of parents that are unrealistic or unnamed, and parents have expectations for teachers that are unrealistic and unnamed. So when they bump heads, it's like, oh my goodness. So when a parent says, I've been calling and trying to get you on the phone to talk to me about my baby, and you not answering the phone, you not responding to text message, and a teacher says, I'm teaching children, I cannot stop and respond to your text messages when I'm supposed to be teaching kids how to partition shapes, ma'am. But the parent is receiving that as, you don't care about my child, or you don't see the urgency of me calling, and you don't see the urgency of me texting. And the teacher is like, I'm committed to teaching your children.
Yep.
And your kid is in this space who should learn how to partition a shape so he or she can tell time accurately. Because 15 minutes past the hour is 1/4 of the hour, pumpkin.
Yep. And you bring up, I'm so glad that this is where we went. So, what I would ask everybody to take away from this is that you really need to set your expectations for every aspect of your child's education in their life. If you're going to invite someone else into the space in order to solve for X, whatever that outcome is going to be, you have to be willing to set expectations. And I love the fact that you called it unnamed, because I'm going to name a person, Kristen Norai, who said specifically, it is a shame that parents and teachers alike would discipline a child for something they never explained to the child was supposed to happen. And so when you said it, I immediately remember her saying, we spanked these children for doing this thing that we never told them that they were not allowed to do.
Come on.
So you talked about the dishwasher, right? So you want the glasses and cups on the top because they're lighter, and you want the heavier stuff on the bottom. But that's because over time you have learned that it's better for the dishes to be washed in this specific way in order to get the optimum desired outcome.
You teaching.
But the child does not know that, right? And so we're saying, go load the dishwasher, us making an assumption that that child understood what we wanted them to do, what the expectations of them filling that dishwasher, instead of saying, hey, for the first few times you fill the dishwasher, I'm going to show you how to fill it so that you will understand how to do this for the rest of the time you will fill a dishwasher, right?
Yep.
And then now you can say, and a month later, 2 months later, you're like, you did this dishwasher wrong. And then they'll say, yeah, I forgot the rules of loading the dishwasher, right? And so they can draw back on that. Same for school, though, too. Mm-hmm. We say, go to school to our children, but I did something different with mine, which is interesting. I'm not a teacher. I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher of I am a teacher, but I'm not a teacher. I'm not trained to be a teacher, but I understand the concept of this. So I said, I wore my teachers out. I'm going to tell you, not my children's teachers. I wore my teachers out. I was like, because I remember going and I was like, hey, can you tell me how to do this? They were like, that's not part of our curriculum. I said, yeah, I'm done with that already.
Right. I need you to teach me this thing. Right.
And they were like, okay. I was like, everybody else is busy. So we got time. We can sit here and do this, right? So I taught my kids how to do the same thing. I was like, she's like, the curriculum is like this. And I was like, that curriculum is a suggestion. So once you overcome that suggestion, or whatever those requirements are, once you overcome those requirements, you can go back and get more. So that can be your second helping. So when I think of it, I'm like in school, I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? Okay, if I do all of this, can I ask you questions? Yes. Okay, cool. Now I have questions. What about this and what about that? Because the point is, education, we can learn more than what they choose to put in front of us.
Oh, absolutely.
But we have to want to learn it more. We have to want to learn more than what they're teaching. And I remember having this conversation with my daughter specifically because she says, I'm bored in this class. And I was like, so go ask her for different work. And she's like, no, because the curriculum says. And I was like, that curriculum is just a suggestion and a requirement for them to meet. That does not have anything to do with your academic bandwidth, right? So you can choose to have more if you go and ask, and that person, that teacher will be willing to give that to you, but you have to be willing to do that. So my whole entire thing 100% is that parents, just remember, the curriculum is required for them to meet the standard for that year. But when I send my kids to school, I say you need to go to school and learn what they're sharing with you, but then you should go and get a little bit more information in lines of what you want. So you allow them to give you what they have to give you, but then go back for seconds to get what you want. And I would encourage them to do that on purpose, because that means I would set them outside of the class, at the mainstream of the class, which will put them in the top like 10% of the class. But it will help them in the long run, because education is limited because of the number of students in their classrooms.
Yeah, and just the life skill of advocacy. And kids should be able to, not just kids, people should be able to advocate for themselves. And that's a skill that needs to be taught. And what makes it beautiful is that a kid can ask for a thing, and there are teachers who are willing to provide that thing. As a parent and as a kid, be okay with it also being delayed or not provided because of all of the red tape around what curriculum is. And also, it's a skill for a teacher to be a master of content to the degree that they can see and know the next level, the next standard, the next objective of the thing above, to not cause harm to a kid who is asking for additional support, so that they get it and actually makes sense. Because teachers say yes to teaching to support kids academically. And many of them do experience the frustration of not getting the support to be masters of their content to that degree, so that they can expand beyond what is required. And not only what is required, but the time frame in which you have to teach it. Because while your baby is advocating for the more, there are also kids and parents advocating for their kids just to learn it.
Yeah. So that's the other part of that. So my kids, so I had one in SPED and one, just a general ed. But that was her choice, right? That wasn't because she wasn't smart enough to do the other stuff. I think that she was unhappy in the school, and it led to not being motivated to learn more than what is required, because this space is not the space that's going to fill me up, kind of thing. And I think that there's a couple there's a couple things we should always look for. One, in our children, if they're reading incessantly, you can't seem to get them out of the book. There's always a problem. There's always a book that they have to get back to, and they don't want to engage with the outside world and things like that. That is a red flag like no other. You think that child is just learning and everything is fine. But I've gotten directly from the children that if they are buried in the book more times than they are not, you might want to start asking questions, because it turns out those children are not okay. They're trying to escape something. They're trying to quiet the outside world, and they're falling into their own space for a various groups of reasons that we are unaware until we ask, right? The other one is, you got them, they're afraid to go to school, or there's always a reason why they don't want to go to school, and there's always something going on. We need to be looking for that. But everybody looks at it and just stops. Go past it. So your child doesn't want to go to school, and they're always either complaining about their stomach hurts, or they're just not feeling well, or, they're depressed, or whatever that could be. Go further to that. If it was you and you don't want to go to work, you'd be like, okay, cool. I don't want to go to work. I don't want to go to work. But if you find out you're not going to work to avoid somebody touching your private areas, or somebody bullying you, or are you feeling like everything is caving in on you? If you as an adult feel that way, then turn around and look at the child, because there's a possibility they're experiencing that same thing when it comes to school. And it can't be you must go no matter what. It's let's figure out what's stopping you from wanting to go and get your education. Because parents are the first of everything, right? You are the first of all things. If your mom and your parents do not advocate for you 100% in life, you will struggle in your life, because you will not understand how to advocate for yourself. Absolutely. I got some loud mouths on this side.
We had it was my second, or was she in my first group? It was either my first year or second year as AP of kindergarten. And there was this one baby. So every morning we stood outside to greet each scholar by hand and name, and then they went into the building.
Oh, nice.
And one of the things that had to be true is that they were able to say good morning, shake our hands, and go into the building. And one of the babies, she struggled with that. Like, unbelievable. I had never seen a kid so disheartened about coming to school. And at first it was just a little slight whisper of a voice. And then it escalated to this thing where, like, she's a kindergartner, kicking, screaming, hollering, crying, all of the things. And we would say to the mom, like, she cannot come into the school setting this upset, right? Like, there is no making her come into the school. Mm-hmm. And she was like, well, she need to come to school. She has to come to school. If she doesn't come to school, then it escalates to absences. And then there's the trajectory, because parents do get consequences, right? So the mom isn't necessarily forcing the child into the school. She's coming from a place of, I don't think you understand what the impact of her not going to school has on my livelihood.
Right.
So as teachers and educators who are more skilled than me in this particular situation, who is used to kids crying at school, then y'all need to resolve it. And my principal and I had a very firm line, like, she cannot come to school like this. Like, there is no pushing her in. Like, she would literally be holding the door to not come into the building. And what ended up happening is then this grand conversation, like, some parents are outside at arrivals, like, they should let the baby come in. And then some parents are like, no, the baby needs to be calm, and like all of these things. So we went through a plethora of things to try to get the baby to come to school. We chose a different door where she only could come. She came and only talked to me. Mom came. Like, there was a lengthy process to get her to graduate from I don't want to be here to I want to be here. And the final thing that allowed her to come into the building and be into her classroom was the day that her mom and I walked to the foyer. We made it to the foyer, no tears, none of the things. And then it was like, okay, I'm going to walk you down the hall to your room, and mom is going to stay on the end of this hall. and watch you walk with me. So mom comes up, we all visible, going down the hallway. She, of course, is not crying, not kicking, but she's still over her shoulder. like I'm gonna keep my eyes on my mama too. So we made it to the classroom. She undid her coat, jacket, hung her book bag up on her hook, went into the classroom. Then there was this waterfall. It wasn't screaming, kicking, it was just waterfall. And I looked at mom and I was like, come on. Come on. So mom gets to the door, baby goes into the room, has a seat. Her desk is now in sight of the window on the door, so we can see her, she can see us. And mom just stood in the window and watched her engage with her classroom for like the first 20-25 minutes. And then the baby was able to say, tell my mama she can go, right? And I say that to say, because that's a partnership, that's a teaching that parents, we don't bring kids who feel unsafe in coming to school to be at school feeling unsafe. And mom, hey, I do understand the impact of her not coming to school. However, comma, we can work together to make this easier for you and her.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the exact reason why she didn't want to come to school. I don't remember that. That was so many years ago. But I do remember that the parent and the family, because some days the aunt would bring her and stuff like that, because mom had to get to work. But there was this collaboration of, let's figure out how to get the baby comfortable at school to be able to say to mom, I'm good now. And we were willing to do whatever needed to take place within reason to do so. And even if that meant she came to school half day, whatever, because some kindergarten programs are half day, and I think for that reason, right? Yep. So we were willing to do what we could do to support her without making a kid be drugged into the school kicking and screaming.
And I love that, and that's why he was on it, right? I love this, right? And everything you said. My thing is this.
Kids,
you having the same problem. I'm not a teacher. I already told you, I'm not a teacher. So I had that exact scenario with my kid.
Okay.
But he was in SPED, and I'm gonna just say he was misplaced by the district in a school program that he fit if they would have placed them in the correct classroom and trajectory.
Got it.
He was in the wrong placement, and their team came in and said, he is in the wrong placement. You need to move him. And this is when I say to people, the leadership understands the financial impact by making certain changes. And when they dig their heels into not shifting and making that change, it is financially driven. It is nothing other than financially being the primary reason why they won't make the change. Why do I know that? Because when I had to fight with them to remove and put him in another placement, I believe that was the reason why, because where he was pulled in more money, which meant they would lose that line item for the program he was in.
Okay.
So when they moved him into the program he was supposed to, this kid didn't want to go.
like
I'm not going there.
I feel good.
Like, I ain't going there. I was like, oh, but you have to move over. He's like, I'm not going there. Now keep in mind, this kid is not 12.
Right.
He is first grade. I'm not going there. And he has his speech back. So we did really good at getting his speech back, but it wasn't always the right thing. But I don't want to go there. Right. What I had to do, when I tell you I was sitting, they had him in the hallway. I had to be sitting in the hallway with him. I had to go on recess with him. I was watching him hash mark his paper, and I was like, please stop doing that. Can we not use the ruler? The counting. Can we do this? Let's try this. I'm doing all these things. I'm in a school He's by himself. When he was in the classroom, I would go in there, I would look and be like kind of on the outside, but when I would leave, he would turn the place inside out. And I was like, okay, we're gonna have to stop this at some point in time. So what do I need to do? Well, just stay with me. So I would stay. And I spent about a week there. And I would come and hang out with him, and then he'd be like, you can go home now, I'll come back, you can come back later and get me. And I was like, okay. So we did that for about a week, and then one day he was like, I'm good, and he stayed, right? But it was a matter of us meeting him where he felt comfortable and allowing him to make that a different decision. And it's not because I had said anything bad or horrible. First of all, we were shifting him while he was in midstream of school year. So he was about to miss and lose out on the friendships he had already started to create. But then the other place was that he was afraid of the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't kind of want to go that direction, but he was excited to go there because the difference was he was in a different school than his sister. So that created a different problem, because before we would have that. Anyway, you have to find the children where they are. Because when he was in the school with the same one as his sister, when he would fall apart, they would go and get her. She would calm him down. She could return back to class.
Mm-hmm.
Parents, find a way. You have to help them. You have to advocate for them, and then teach them how to advocate for themselves and say what they're missing or needing. And don't excuse some of the stuff away. So if they are like strongly against going to school, it's time to ask very specific questions or learn what is going on. And in your case, you don't remember, but in my case, I exactly knew why he didn't want to go, because he was easy street over there. They weren't doing anything. And he had to come over here, and it was the part of the unknown he wasn't interested in.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So it's time for parents to kind of get it in the gear and look at the teaching staff as partnerships. So have you had parents in the past treat you more like a partner instead of you them dictating to you what your role is and how you will teach my child?
Yes, and my favorite one were the ones who were loud and rude and disrespectful and had all the answers and what I'm not gonna do and what I better do, only for them to then in turn to be like my greatest supporter. Oh no, we're not doing that, Miss Dixie. We're not doing that with Miss Dixie. No, we're not doing that. Like that transformation. that transformation to at graduation, you FaceTiming me with all they family. Talking about, see, this is what I was talking about. This is what I was talking about. Remember, at first I couldn't stand her, but we worked it out again, because it's a matter of the expectations. And what ended up happening is, I'm going to hold your kid accountable. And the truth of the matter is, I believe all adults, even parents, have a measure of accountability for children.
Yes.
I don't believe that parents are just like, no, they do whatever and there's no consequences. They get consequences for the things that matter most to a parent.
Yes.
And what ends up happening is we may not agree. So then we be like, oh, that's poor parenting, or that's bad parenting. You just letting a kid do what they want to do and stuff like that. And it's like, no, we just have different, we agree differently about what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. But in the school setting, back to your original point, is, yeah, there are parents who totally disagree.
Yep.
At first. And they are like, okay, let me give it some time. And once they learn to know that we on the same team, and I often have to remind people, we on the same team. I remind my kids, I remind my husband, we on the same team. Yep. We are actively sharing this human experience in service to all of us being successful. And whatever success looks like to each other, then that's okay. But there are parents who initially push back just because also it's different. It's not just different because it's me. It's also different because they too have now new expectations that may be different.
Yep.
Like, it's okay to walk your kid to class in kindergarten, but no, ma'am, you can't walk the 6th grader down the hallway. That's not a thing.
Right? It's not. Right? And it's teaching them how to be codependent and hold on to you for longer than necessary.
Exactly. No, ma'am, that's not a thing. And no, we're not hiding anything from your kid, we're not hiding anything from you if we have expectations that you have to schedule the time you coming to see your kid. Could you imagine if all 30 grown-ups decided that Tuesday was going to be the day we're going to come observe Mrs. Dixie? Then what are we supposed to do with all the kids in the room? No, but Mrs. Barron does need to know via our classroom newsletter that Mrs. Dixie, the parent of Caitlin Dixie, is planning to visit our class on Wednesday from 10 to 2.
Yes.
As a parent, you need to know what uncertified, unbackground checked adult is coming to see your kid.
Yes, Lord. Because there's some people, they're not supposed to be in the school building.
Exactly. And as a person who you left in care, your child in care to, I do have the responsibility of maintaining a level of safety around it. And you may be the PTA president. You may be. But Johnny Mama don't know that.
Johnny Mama.
But Johnny Mama needs to know that you come to do a read aloud to their kid.
This is true.
I'm also in partnership with other parents, and collectively we can make this work. So yeah, you're gonna be upset about not being able to pop up, and you're gonna say we doing stuff to kids and we don't want you to see and all those things. And you can have that assumption if you like. But after a period of time, when I stay consistent, then they tend to be more open to the idea that I'm okay to take care of your kid. We can disagree, but we still have to commit. Or we can agree and we still have to commit, and we will be fine. And if by chance you do not like me, it's fine. Just be respectful of the expectations that we have for you, your kid alike.
I love our conversations. First of all, you one of the moms like me. Excuse me, what we doing here? How's this gonna work out? I'm just curious. I just need to understand where I'm coming from and what I've got to do next. But I'm glad that we had this conversation the way we did.
Mm-hmm.
Because what it is going to show is that we are all parents one way, shape, or form, but we're also all teachers in one way, shape, or form. We need to lean into our roles. But if you're a parent and you want to build a relationship with a teacher, we just exposed how you can do that successfully. Mm-hmm. And one of the ones that always coming in there, neck swinging, popping, being all disrespectful, understand that is what your child is mirroring in the classroom, which is not conducive to a learning environment. So although I love your animation and how you move and function and do those things, the one thing is that your animation needs to tone down when going into the classroom and into that organization. Mm-hmm. But we're running out of time. Corinthia, please, friends, go ahead and scan that QR code and connect with Miss Dixie, because she's on fire. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to thank everybody who spent the hour with us, because we were talking about some great things. I can't wait to do this again. And circle back. So Education Reconsidered, just consider hopping on her calendar and having a conversation. And Ali, yes, I will be talking to you. Yes,
come on, Ali, on September 7th.
Come on now. So yeah, so I look forward to connecting with each and every one of you at a later time. And Corinthia, we will be circling back and talking, right?
All right. Yes, ma'am.
So, like normal, we end the show the same way. Remember, words are power. Please use them wisely. Thank you for your time today. We appreciate this. Sometimes I don't. Thank you for your time today. We appreciate the support and look forward to you visiting us again next week. Same time, same place. Until then, words are power. Please remember to use them wisely. If you have an interest, like to be on our live show, please let us know and send us a direct message.